is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Man Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Goodpod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Washington Commanders on Sunday Night Football, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, let me tell you, I'm excited for this matchup right here because the Falcons could potentially clinch a playoff berth and clinch the NFC South all this weekend. Guys, I'm super excited for it. I know a lot of Falcons fans are. You got the excitement of Michael Penix Jr. potentially going 2-0 against a pretty great Washington team, I would say. And there's a lot of momentum going into this right here. But let's break it all down and let's get some score predictions in. So for the game odds on the spread right here, Atlanta did open up as a minus 2.5 point favorite, but is currently sitting at a minus 4 point favorite in favor of Washington. So the times have changed in that one. Vegas is really still not too sure on Michael Penix just yet. And that's why it flipped over in favor of Washington this Sunday. And plus, Washington does get the home field advantage because they are in the, the state's capital, of course. And the public bet is sitting at a 70% in favor of Washington to beat Atlanta at the minus 4. Your money line, people love Washington at the minus 204 with an 89% public bet, and Atlanta is a plus 170 and an 11% public bets. Total over and under sitting right now is a 47.5. And Vegas is going with the over at a 72% public bet right now, ladies and gentlemen. And that is pretty crazy because both of these offenses are in the top 10. I think Falcons are ranked 9th and the Washington Commanders are ranked 5th in the National Football League. So it is going to be a high scoring game if Michael Penix Jr. can get these lanes open, scramble a little bit more, and get to his receivers and get a lot of touchdowns. And of course, the same thing is going to go for Daniels on the Commanders. So for Jaden Daniels, he's got 3,303 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. So definitely, this dude can throw the ball. And also, he can run the ball too because he is their leading rusher with 737 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 128 attempts. For receiving, Tyler McLaren is their lead receiver with 1,029 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 73 receptions. For the Falcons, of course, Kirk Cousins is not the leader, passer no more because he's benched for Michael Penix Jr. But for rushing, Bijon Robinson is practically 1,200 yards. It statistically is 1,196, but I'm just rounding off to 1,200 because he will reach that this Sunday. 10 touchdowns, 259 attempts. And the leading receiver is Drake London at 978 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 83 receptions. So the Falcons are definitely exploding on offense right now, and this is a perfect time to explode on offense. And defense too, but more practically on offense. Now I do cover overall offense and defense for both teams right here. So for this matchup, the Falcons offense versus the Washington defense. So the Washington defense is 10th overall in the National Football League, 4th against the pass, and 29th against the run, while the Falcons offense is 9th overall in the National Football League, 6th while passing, and 12th while running. So Bijon and Tyler Algier is definitely going to have a field day, but again, it all comes down to the offensive line and Zach Robinson of creating a play for Bijon and Algier to get those lanes open. So you definitely need to find a weakness in that defensive line if you are Zach Robinson and create those lanes for Bijon and Algier and establish that run game early, because that is what's going to help the Atlanta Falcons break down that secondary against that Washington defense, because this is Dan Quinn's defense right here. And again, we know how that went, the first time around with Dan Quinn being the head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. But this time it's different. I feel like Dan Quinn has learned from his mistakes, and going up against his former team, especially against Raheem Morris, he's going to know what to expect from Raheem and a lot of these players that are still around from the Dan Quinn era, which still it's not a lot, but I think like Younghoe Koo was still a part of it, but being a kicker, obviously it's just kicking points and, punts if necessary. So this Falcons defense versus the Washington offense. So the Falcons defense is 14th overall in the National Football League, 18th against the pass, and 11th while against the run. This Washington offense is 5th overall in the National Football League, 19th while passing the ball, and 3rd while running the ball. So our defensive line is going to get a lot of blocks, but there's also going to be a lot of opportunities for this Washington offense to get through those lanes and score some points. So D-line is definitely got to step up big time this Sunday under the Sunday Night Football primetime lights. Now, Jaden Daniels being 19th overall in the passing game right here, guys, that makes me feel a little bit more confident because, again, you got Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell in that secondary that can definitely get some interceptions, deflected balls, and anything else that is necessary for the Washington offense not to score points or get a first down. So I do like our chances right there. Wish we could be a little bit better in the passing game, but hey, right now 18th overall against the pass is a hell of a lot better than a lot of other teams. So guys, looking overall at this right here, I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen this Sunday. And again, Vegas is predicting a 47.5 points right now. So that'd be 23.75 for each team to score. So if it was me, I would say, honestly, the Falcons would be in favor. Again, this is, of course, it being an Atlanta Falcons podcast. I'm always going to be in favor of the Atlanta Falcons, no matter what the case scenario is. But for it to go 47.5 points, which I can agree with that because Penix Jr. definitely created those lanes for Bijon and Algier in that running game and created those holes when necessary while passing the ball to like Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Despite that interception, which I don't put that interception on Penix Jr., by the way, if anybody was just curious. Honestly, really, I like Atlanta to at least score 30 points in this game, while Washington only scores 23. So that would definitely put it over the 47.5 mark for Vegas for the betting odds right there. But I do like Atlanta to score 30 points for some reason. I know it ain't no Giants team because the Giants team just obviously was just horrible last weekend. But if you go back and look at the stats, again, our offense going up against that Washington, rush defense, we could honestly have a field day with that because they're near about the bottom of the barrel team while protecting against the run. So if Zach Robinson can just open up those lanes in that offensive line and get Bijon and Algier in wide open coverage, man, I'm telling you, that's going to be a field day right there. Then, of course, Penix Jr., when necessary, needs to throw the ball. Again, that's when Zach Robinson needs to find some lanes and some man coverage that's going to benefit Drake London and Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, etc. So I trust the process right here, especially, again, Michael Penix being a mobile quarterback and scrambling while those lanes do come into formation. I really like that. So, again, I'm going to sit here and say, honestly, the Falcons win this game on Sunday Night Football 30-23 and improve to 9-7 overall, clinch the NFC South, and get a playoff berth since the first time since 2017, guys. That's going to be my final prediction right there. But of course, we all do know that the Bucs have to lose this Sunday as well against the Carolina Panthers. And if I'm not mistaken, we could look at the score predictions right now, which Tampa Bay, for them, it's in a good scenario. It's at home, and they are favored by -8 points right now, according to CBS Sports. And that's where I actually get all my stats and info from, is CBS Sports app here on Google Play. But for the game odds, people are taking Carolina actually right now at the +8 at a 51% public bet with them. So Vegas is leaning a little bit more towards Carolina right now, ladies and gentlemen. And definitely, if you are a Falcons fan, you are a Panthers fan on top of that this Sunday. So be ready to watch that game, which definitely I know I am for sure. And so, go Panthers. Because if the Panthers beat the Bucs and the Falcons do win this Sunday, we're hosting a playoff game in the wild card. And that's going to be tremendous right there for this organization. Raheem Morris has definitely got the right people for the job. And of course, they'll take this off season to, have a lot of tweaks, certain players that are needed. But for right now, the main focus is winning the NFC South this Sunday. So rise up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be a Panthers fan to start off today. And then let's be a Falcons fan at the end of the day. And go Falcons. So, guys, I sure hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your preferred podcasts. But until then, I'm Michael Morgan. We'll catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.